city. The huge columns of smoke from hundreds of ruptured oil wells led the way like black marker posts to the outskirts of the city. And encircling Kuwait, the abandoned Iraqi defensive line, each position marked by burnt-out Iraqi armor. Hundreds of tanks were destroyed along this line alone. Their broken barrels sighted across advancing elements of the Marines' 1st Division. And those tanks that moved out from their prepared positions were immediately targeted. We are now just a few kilometers from the outskirts of Kuwait City, and what started as a battle is ending as a rout. Allied air power, which has so dominated this conflict, has at last opened the door to the capital. And early this morning, they started streaming through, the vanguard of the Saudi and Kuwaiti forces entering the city. It had long ago been agreed that the honor of liberating the capital would fall to them. And to greet them, the people of Kuwait, who'd been freed from 7 months of virtual house arrest. What started as a military convoy ended in the city center as a victory parade. And this time, the gunfire was in celebration. There were many reunions today. One young Kuwaiti soldier meeting his friends for the first time, each with his own story of life under the occupation.
People, for the last 1 week, they have been trying to collect as many civilians as possible. From the street, going into houses and getting civilians, old men, young men, children, women. They were collecting people in the thousands. Many of them have returned, and many we still don't know about them. There is belief that some of them have been taken with the withdrawing soldiers, Iraqi soldiers.
The American forces are just a few miles down the road behind us. How do you feel today?
Very happy, extremely happy. It's like a nightmare that has gone away.
This morning, what was left of Saddam Hussein's army in Kuwait City was under guard outside the American embassy. Many had been abandoned by their own officers as they fled the city. And this is what they left behind. No area of Kuwait City had escaped. In the last desperate hours of occupation, whole shopping complexes were set ablaze. The troops deliberately burnt what they could in the time they had left. All the major city hotels were badly damaged. At the building used by the Iraqis as an interrogation center, Kuwaiti resistance fighters had taken up residence. It was in these cells, they said, that hundreds of their countrymen were tortured and killed over the last 7 months, in circumstances which will become more detailed as the survivors begin to talk.
Them over here, and they put their feet up, and they roll it. And then they use another stick to hit them like this one. To hit their feet until they get an agreement with whatever they tell them to say. And then they sign them, they set them up for such a thing.
And the feet are tied where?
It's tied over here. And then they roll it until they get the feet up here.
But there were no calls for retribution today, just a delight in their newfound freedom and a preoccupation with the tools of war that had ensured their captivity. Huge arms supplies have been left behind by the Iraqis. Today, young Kuwaitis set to work destroying the signs and symbols of occupation. Trying in these first moments of freedom to rid themselves of any reminders of their enemy. But this was above all a day of celebration. Only 48 hours ago they faced the death sentence for possession of this flag. Today it was raised with pride. The celebrations continue and the war in Kuwait City is over. But a far more difficult and protracted battle lies ahead. Rebuilding this nation and restoring the confidence of its people.